It is the greatest time of the year. This is when all the blue tongues are up and awake and ready to start breeding. This boy I got right here is one of my best breeders. Normally, I don't breed these guys when they're in shed and stuff, but this guy breeds all year round if I let him. So we're gonna go see if we can get some blue tongues to breed. One of the toughest things about breeding blue tongue skinks is determining the sex. This guy I know is a male. He's bred for me many times before. Generally, the males are built with bigger heads, a shorter body, but a longer tail. And then also, like you can see on him sometimes, they get hemipenal bulges. It's not always. Sometimes they do, especially when they're really horny, it could protrude a little bit more. So I'm gonna go ahead and pair him up with the female just to show you how it should go. Sometimes, you know, when you're not sure of the sex and you're pairing two up, you gotta be really on top of them. You gotta make sure they don't try to kill each other right away, because the two males will do that. Sometimes two females can sit there and just do absolutely nothing. Even the male, if he's not in season, he might not do anything at all. So it's kind of hard to determine, but I kind of look at their behavior, and we're gonna show you guys with some proven adults and then some that we are not sure, just to show you what I look for. Before the breeding season starts, we like to brumate them before, usually like about a month or two before the breeding season starts. We'll cool them down. We'll set their rack system at about like 75, 72 degrees, so it doesn't get too much cooler than that. And then also I like to cover their enclosures just to simulate like a winter with shorter days. And then after they've been down for like a month, 2 months, the males usually wake up first. What they'll do is they'll start scratching the front of the enclosure a lot, and they'll start scratching. That's a good sign that they're awake. And then usually a couple days to a week later, the females wake up. Now once they wake up, they will pop a nice shed, and that's usually when they get all their hormones going, and that's usually when they start breeding. So I just throw these guys together. As you see, I have a couple different enclosures going at the same time. The reason being is because we do have a lot of skinks, so we gotta be time efficient. Now, as I'm here, I have a stick with me, something where I could guide the skink's head in case it bites an arm on accident, in case it bites the head. I'm not necessarily using this for them to bite, because they can break their teeth on that. I just like to guide them so there's no injury. If you don't pay attention, these guys can rip each other's arms off, tails off, could even kill one another. So as you can see, the male's kind of just checking out the femal's checking back. She's not really fighting back. She's starting to move this tail a little bit, which is a good sign. Something that I do look for. That is a sign of a receptive female, especially when they start wiggling their tail. But as you can see, they're not trying to kill each other. They're just kind of checking each other out at first. I also like to put a basking lamp on at the same time, because sometimes the males need to get a little bit warmer before they get the energy to breed the females. So this is good. The male's kind of pushing on her hips. That's a good sign that you have a male and that is receptive, that it wants to breed. And then hopefully in a moment, sometimes these guys can take a long time to get breeding, especially like inexperienced males. They could sometimes sit there for like 20, 30 minutes just waiting for them to do something. But this is a very good sign. She's not fighting back. He's pushing on her hips, pushing on her shoulder. That's a really, really good sign that he's receptive and wanting to breed. And like I said, she's not fighting back. So that's a good sign for her as well. So this is good. This is what you want. The male's starting to bite on. He's gonna bite usually the tail, the hips, the shoulders. What he really wants is to get up here in this upper shoulder area so he can control her, spin her around, so he can mount her and breed her. This is all part of blue tongue skink breeding. This is not aggressive. This is just how they are. They're a rough breeder, so it's not for the faint of heart. The female at times is gonna run away. It's perfectly normal. She's not like sprinting away, pooping everywhere, fighting back. It's a really good sign. She's receptive. She's willing to get bred. He just needs to manhandle her and give her what she wants. This whole like dance can go on for a while. It's pretty normal sometimes if it takes 15, 20 minutes, because the male's just got to get the right spot and just got to get the right grip and then spin her around so he can get on top of her and breed her. Pretty normal. So I do sit here, just watch 3, 4 pairs at a time go at it, just, you know, making sure I do keep an eye on them, making sure nobody hurts themselves. Because sometimes as they're going for that shoulder, for example, they'll grab the leg, and then if they spin or anything, they could just rip off the arm. Very easy. Also, I've had skinks also bite as they're aiming for the shoulder. They get the neck, and then the female's getting choked out. So I always have to be on top of them. Always have to make sure they're not hurting each other. As you can see, he's gonna try to mount her now. He actually's got to spin her a little bit. Sometimes I'll help a little bit too, because the males can get lazy. But he's got to actually pull her more to her left spin her around so you can mount her properly. He's gonna climb up her back. See, if you don't have the right grip, you don't have the right side, this is gonna happen. They're just gonna let go, try again. So the females can get beat up. I do like to treat the females with antibacterial creams. You can kind of use any of them that are safe for animals. And I like to, you know, rub the wounds and stuff so there is no infections. If the infections do happen, it can get pretty gross. Their scales will get raised and they'll get red and pussy, and that's a whole nother treatment. So I like to use that as a preventative, and it's been working out for me very well. So right here I have a first time male. He is from the Pitch Black line from Frank Payne. You can see there is a difference the way that proven male's behaving versus this inexperienced male. The way this inexperienced male is behaving, he's kind of like not even really sure like what to do, what to start. Earlier he was pushing on the hips, which is a really good sign that he's he's receptive, he's willing to breed. He just needs to learn and figure it out. Sometimes it can take many attempts before these inexperienced males figure it out. This guy, all he needs to do now is, you can see, he's trying to walk up the back, trying to walk up along the side. He's just got to bend her a little bit more to the side, climb her, and then he can breed her. No, it's not on my mama's say. So there you go, he's getting over her. Now he's going to try to scratch the tail, get her to lift her tail. Come on. There you go. There you go. Boom. Skink breeding. Do I take a picture too, just so I remember who bred who? And I can mark it all down because we have so many skinks, so it'll get confusing. You'll forget who bred with who and when and everything. So another thing you gotta watch out for sometimes is you can see her foot. So where her foot is right next to his hemipenes. Sometimes when they wiggle too much, they can sometimes scratch the hemipenes, and you're gonna wanna make sure you wanna treat it. The skink the male's usually fine. They have another hemipene in case they ever hurt one. And they're finishing up. Once they finish up, usually the male lets go. What I'll do too is I'll grab her. As you can see, she has some nice cuts on her and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and treat these with the antibacterial. Make sure she's all good. And then put her back into her home so she can nice and warm up, and hopefully she becomes pregnant. And hopefully in a few months we'll have babies from her. She's a good girl. And there you go. Once I get them off, she's ready to go back into her enclosure. And hopefully I might breed them 1 or 2 more times. It just really depends on how the females react. If she's gonna be freaking out, fighting the male back, that usually is a good sign. That means she's usually gravid, so I'll stop breeding her. Whether it's 1 attempt or 3 attempts, however long it takes for her to get like that, is when I stop breeding them. Once his hemipenes are back in the body and not protruding anymore, we put the males back in the enclosure. One thing I've tried over the past few years, and it's worked out really well, is right after brumation, heating the skinks right up. I used to keep them at like around 80 degrees hot spot after they woke up. Now I keep them at around 95, 100 degrees. And what that does is that makes the males nice and hot, so they have the energy and the vigor to breed. That's why I also have these like these 100-watt basking bulbs right here. And as you can see, sometimes they'll take a break, bask, and then once they get that energy, they'll go right into breeding. Also, these guys are oviviparous, meaning that they don't lay eggs, they give live birth. So you're not gonna have to deal with any eggs, any laying, anything like that. So what we do is just keep the female nice and hot as she's pregnant, as she's gravid, and then throughout the gestation, just, once it starts getting to the end, they usually give birth at around like 100, 120 days for me. Just keep an eye out, and one day you'll just find a bunch of babies running around the enclosure. For the start of brumation, different areas, different regions, they'll start brumating sooner or later, just depending on kind of where you are, how the weather is in your local area. Being in South Florida, I noticed most of mine start brumating around November, usually late November, sometimes early December. And you notice this when they'll start going off of food, they'll start slowing down. That's my cue to be like, okay, now it's time to shut them down, cover them up. And then usually about 30 days for me, so usually either the end of December to the beginning of January is when they start waking up for me. If there's like a cold winter, like this year we had a really cold winter, so they woke up a little bit later, like 2 weeks into January. But I kind of try to listen to my animals. I don't set like a routine like, hey, and this day they're gonna shut down, this day they're gonna wake up. I listen to them. Like I said, the males will start being very inactive. They'll start scratching in the front of the enclosure a lot, moving around because they're searching for females. So I kind of wait to listen to that. Once I see that, I'll wake them up, heat them up, give them some food, give them a couple days, and then start pairing them up. If they don't start breeding immediately, which can happen, you know, I'll just try every couple of days. Keep trying until I start seeing a lot of action. And then once a couple start breeding, usually all systems go and everyone's starting to pair up. And then I'll be in here all day just pairing every single one of them up. So, Skink Breeding 101. If you guys are interested, we should have a lot of captive bred and born northern blue tongue skinks in a couple months. We still have a couple 2022 nice holdbacks that we have listed on the website. Also, if you like our content, make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. We got Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Snapchat, everything. Everything is Tiki's Geckos. Make sure you follow us, and till next time, guys.